Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be looking at some rulings for the new cards in Reign of Jafar. So Jen and I have opened loads and loads of packs, and a couple of cards have, made us go, this is different. So I'm going to be here for anyone who is a bit of a beginner, and we're going to go through some cards that might confuse people and basically help people out. And if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe and comment down below some cards that you find confusing or you've been playing wrong all this time until recently someone said that was wrong. Right, so one of the first ones that I think this is like the only one that Jen got confused by was the new Arthur, the Sapphire Steel Arthur. Arthur says skip your turns, draw step. When you've played him, you might be doing other shenanigans, however you might be passing turn, and then when it's your turn again, you do not draw because Arthur's on the field. That's all, you just do not draw on that draw step. If you've got cards that make you draw cards, you can carry on doing those effects. Arthur just restricts you and takes away your draw step. But it's a very good addition to the game, the fact that we can have rules like this, because he is a 6/6 and he is a 3-lore character. So it's kind of neat that it takes away your draw step. Yeah, I wonder if we'll get characters that like make your whole turn unable to challenge or unable to quest. The next one we've got is Light the Fuse. I think it reads easily, but I think people will forget this effect. Deal 1 damage to chosen character for each exerted character you have in play. Yeah, reads easy, and I think a lot of people might trip over this and try and play this card before they've challenged or quested with characters to make them exerted, to make the damage happen. I'm not quite sure, maybe you can help me out in the comments, if you were to tap an ink and play this character, what would happen and how the judge would resolve it. Would you take it back to your hand, or will it just basically do no damage? I feel like, if you activate this card and you pay the ink cost and you've got nothing exerted, this card will just go to the discard pile, which you need to make sure that doesn't happen when you're playing it. Next card is Pinocchio. Pinocchio says when it readies, you draw a card. I just wanted to say that when it's your draw step, you draw a card from when you are readying your Pinocchio before you start your turn. Next one is going to be the baddie Jafar. So with Jafar, you can on quest, you can draw and discard a card. Nice effect. However, on the discard, if you discard an illusion, it will play the illusion from the discard. So it comes from discard and not from your hand. So make sure that when you're questing and you're drawing and discarding a card, that card is not going straight onto like your board or your play mat straight away. It goes to the discard, then it gets played. And also it's a May effect, so you can miss timing because it's a choice rather than mandatory. Then we have Alma. So I actually had to ask a few people about Alma because I have played lots of different TCGs, and there are things called soft once per turns and hard once per turns. Hard once per turns word cards like you can only do this thing once per turn, only that once. So it means that if you have multiple copies of that card, you can only activate the effect once. However, with Alma, it is a soft once per turn, so it's for each copy. So if you have 2 Almas in front of you, you are able to do her once per turn effect twice. So it's 1 per copy. I feel like I want to bring this one up a little bit more so for people to remind themselves, because in this game we don't really sieve through people's discard piles for certain things. I only usually do it to like count how many cards have been played, like for example how many magic brooms they've gone through, and there might be they've inked 1 and there's 2 in the discard, so they might have 1 left. However, with the new King Candy action card, remember King Candy, he buffs the characters at I think +5 and makes you draw a card. But that character gets banished at the end turn. So when you play that card, the action, and it gets put in the discard, and then a couple more things get put in the discard, people may forget that that character that got buffed needs to also go at the end of your turn. So you've got to make sure you're doing that correctly and your opponent's doing it correctly. Mickey Mouse, the big giant Mickey Mouse, when he is banished, he does a widespread damage of 5 to each of your opposing characters. The reason why I brought this up is because it bypasses ward. So if your characters are Prince John, for example, Mickey Mouse will still do 5 damage because it doesn't say chosen on it. Another thing that's quite important to say is the Jewel Collar is not the only card that does this kind of effect, but it does say when one of your characters is challenged. It also has May on the card. So if your opponent challenges you, that is when you can do the card into your inkwell. If you remove your character and put it into the banished area in the discard pile, then you may have mistimed putting the ink into your inkwell through the collar. If the collar said when one of your characters gets banished, you may put the top card into your inkwell, you can physically move your cards to being banished. However, that's not the case with this card when you read it, and I feel like it's super duper important to make sure that your opponent knows that the top card of your deck is going to go into inkwell after they've decided to challenge you. One thing to note that I've noticed a couple of times, and I've done it myself, is an old concept back from the last set, well, Arcasia's Island a few months ago, is the keyword vanish. I have myself, and my partner has, and people I've played against, use vanish in the wrong way. And I know it's probably quite simple for a lot of people. However, you can only banish an illusion character that has vanish if you use an action card. A lot of people are getting confused with the idea of a card saying chosen. So for example, Elsa, the fifth spirit, says choose one of your opponent's characters to exert. I think some people get confused with action and choose. Elsa's effect to exert one of your vanish characters doesn't banish the vanish, if that makes any sense. Just actions. And I just thought it'd be just worthwhile to just update people with that ruling. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. I enjoyed going through some rulings. It helps me become a better player. I love kind of helping people out. The idea of potentially helping out people with judging and going to events and bringing new players into the game. Just, yeah, that's my kind of thing, and I really like doing that. So I hope you found this video useful, and if you didn't, then I'm very sorry. But anyway, I will see you in the next one. See you in a bit. Bye.